Well, it's live now. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Metaphysical Bible Hangout for Up Church. As you have probably noticed, my voice is a little bit hoarse. So if you can work with me on that, we're going to have a good time. I want to just immediately off the bat acknowledge our incredible backdrop, which is courtesy of one of our board members, Linda Small. I'm trying to get this camera right. And I'm so grateful. It looks so good. So Linda, I know you're tuned in. Hey, it looks amazing. Just great job. Um, in fact, if you guys want to give Linda compliments in the chat, please do. Just really grateful because this office, Linda has owned this office, and I am deeply grateful for her love for Up Church and her just ongoing commitment. And literally I don't know, it seems like every month or so she comes in. It's like, okay, time to change the curtains. Okay, let's do this. So it's wonderful. Ray says, after reading today's blog, I realized that this was to be the perfect discussion for me to hear. I love this book. I love this book. I'm telling y'all, I did not know about this book, and I'm so grateful for whoever suggested it. Not whoever suggested it, but meaning that everybody voted for it because it's an incredible book. So thank you guys, because it wasn't one that I was aware of. It wasn't on my radar of material. I didn't even know about it. In the chat, I want to hear from y'all in the chat. Y'all know we got to set this algorithm off on YouTube so that people will find it. All right, let me pull up the PowerPoint. I see I have a little bit of a stutter, but we're just going to go with it. All right, so bringing your life into balance. That's the name of the chapter. And the question that we are asking and answering tonight is, can you have it all? Or are you ready to have it all? Are you ready to have it all? I've got to open up my PowerPoint. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure I have my iPad open while I'm teaching. All right. So just a quick question to get this started. And if you could put this in the comments, this would help. Do you believe that you can have it all? Why or why not? Do you believe that you can have it all? Why or why not? You could put that in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Constance, you can absolutely have the credit for that. She says, I'm taking credit for that because I taught it years ago. I love this book. I carried it around with me. It was my second Bible. It really is like that. I'm telling you, it is the bomb. Hey, Yvonne. Yvonne says, good evening, everyone. Do you believe that you can have it all? Why or why not? That's the question. Alita says, yes, because I am a child of God. Good answer. Stutter is terrible. I'm going to take myself off screen. I'm going to probably leave the PowerPoint up most of the time since this stutter is here. Do you believe that you can have it all? Why or why not? All right. So I've got a few announcements, and then we'll do opening prayer, and then we will look at what does it take to have it all. And then we'll do the workshop part of this, which is bringing balance into your life. And this is based on chapter 17 in your life, why it is the way it is and what you can do about it. And then Q&A, and of course, ask questions throughout. And for those of you that are just joining in, you hear my voice. I literally put myself on mandatory vocal rest this morning when I woke up without it because I was committed. I come heck or high water, I was going to be here teaching no matter what. So here I am. The voice is way better than it was this morning. But yeah, so if you could just bear with me, I'll be 100, hopefully by the end of class, but definitely by next week. Know your why. So let me tell you why this is so important. Why, even with everything that was going on with the voice today, and I'll be taking sips of water, so just get a sip right now. I'll tell you why this was so important. Because, wow, almost 20 years ago, summer 1998, I heard Reverend Dr. Mary Tumpkin preach for the first time ever at the Panorama of Truth in Chicago, Illinois. And I bought the tape, and there was one particular section that I listened to over and over and over and over again. I don't remember much else that was in the sermon other than this: my good comes to me because my good comes through me. And so I know that when a single idea takes root in your mind, that it has the ability to shift everything. And so that single idea has been traveling through me for the last 20 years and has taken root in so many amazing ways. And so my hope is that there is something that you hear through the Bible Hangout that will shift the way that you do life. I want to see you do life better, because I know that when you're better, life is better for me. And when I'm better, life is better for you. And the movie that I always reference when I talk about just what I love and what I do is Inception, because that whole movie is based on this idea: can you deposit a new idea into the mind of a person to the point that they accept it for themselves as their own idea? Can you get them to the plate? Can you get the idea in there to the point that they take ownership of the idea? Reverend Mary said to me, meaning is part of the sermon, not to me personally, but it felt like she was talking to me personally: my good comes to me because my good comes through me. And that idea is an idea that deposited in my mind and traveled the journey through all the things that I believe until it became something that I could take ownership of. And so my hope is that there is something that you hear over the course of these Thursday nights that we spend together that takes root in your heart, that you take ownership of, that is no longer what you heard me say, that it is an idea that is your own, that you have owned and taken ownership of. If you are in the Los Angeles area, I want to invite you to join us this coming Sunday. My brother from another mother is in town. The dynamic, transcendent Reverend Kevin Cottrell Ross. He is the senior minister for Unity of Sacramento, and I am so proud of him, and I'm so excited to host him at Up Church. He is such a blessing for this ministry, and I'm so grateful for him. And so I want you to come out. We are going to pack the house, and I would love to have you in that number. This is Sunday, October 29th at 1 o'clock. Sunday, October 29th at 1 o'clock. The Bible Hangout is free, but it does cost. And so if you are moved by this and you want to see this go around the world, then I encourage you to make a gift. You can do that via PayPal right on revsherri.com. And a gift of any size is greatly appreciated. And I thank you in advance for your support. The way that this series works is that there is a blog post that goes out every Thursday, the Bible Hangout, which we're doing right now, and then the Universal Law Library. And I attended Agape last week to hear Reverend Kevin speak, and I learned that they're going to be hosting Greg Braden, scientist by training, at November 11th. And I love Greg Braden's work. He wrote several books, but one of them is The Biology of Belief, and talks about how belief manifests in the body. So he's going to be at Agape, and I thought, hey, it would probably be cool to like put together some of the stuff that he talks about with spiritual law. And so I built a whole playlist around his work on YouTube, and I put that in the spiritual law library, in the Universal Law Library. And so it's yours for free. If you're on my mailing list, you can go right there and access it. Many of you don't know this, but I do offer spiritual mentoring. I will work with you one-on-one to manifest your goals. And one of the things that I have been really working on, because I'm very interested in delivering the greatest amount of value to the people that I serve, that I have been working on cracking the code of moving people out of thinking about it into acting on it. And so if you're ready to go to the next level, then consider working with me. I would be honored to serve you and to help you, help support you reach your goals. I have a new announcement coming. So I've been working on 2018 and working on rebranding, and I think I've mentioned it loosely to you guys. And everything's still in the beta stage, but I'm going to give you kind of an exclusive first look on Monday. And so this will be done via Zoom. And so you go to zoom.us, and the Zoom ID is 996 600 7371. And I have a couple of partners in this effort. Corey Chapman, who's a personal finance coach, speaker, and author, and the dynamic Jason O'Toole, who is known as the Millionaire Maker. These guys are mentors to me, and I am excited to present to you what kind of the next iteration of RevSherri.com looks like. And so I invite you to come and take a look. The scripture for this series is Matthew 5:17. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. And so let's just take a moment to just relax, to allow the Spirit to have its way with us, and to know that we know that we know that God is all there is, that the power and the presence that indwells us is the only power and presence there is. And we live, move, and have our being in God. That right where we are, everything that we need, we have. That our good comes to us because our good comes from us. And so we are aware that we are walking around with the very things that we need in order to overcome in every area of our lives. And so we give thanks and praise right now for the power and the presence of God to work in, through, and as us to establish balance in our consciousness. Thank you, God. So this conversation tonight really is all about balance. And we're going to talk about what does it take to have it all? Because as Alita says, yes, I can have it all because I'm a child of God. In reality, you already have it all. In reality, if you think about that, what would God withhold from you? God does not have a withholding consciousness. So in reality, you already have it all. Now, it exists as potential. Much of it is invisible. And probably what we need more than anything else, the ability to have it in our thoughts and our feelings, because to the degree that we can have it in our thoughts and our feelings, it can be ours in our experience. Everything that we have shows up in our experience according to law. So every seed that gets planted in your life gets nurtured in your consciousness and gets developed into an experience. No exceptions. It's just the way that it works. And so we don't really, what we need is the consciousness that supports having it all. So all the money that you could ever want is already yours. But do you have the consciousness to bring it out of the invisible into expression? Do you have the consciousness to have the health? You know, you may want the health, but you're unwilling to eat the foods that support the health. Do you want the relationship? Are you willing to give up the things that keep you out of a relationship? The belief that there's no one for you. You know, those things have to disappear. Those things have to leave your consciousness. Constance says, I do believe that you can have it all as you tap into the kingdom of heaven, the realm of divine ideas, love, life, power, wisdom, substance. The keys are given to me. Yes. Yes, yes. I missed some comments. Yvonne says, I could say yes, but do I really believe? Doubtful. I guess limiting beliefs and life experiences hinders me. Okay, good. Thank you, Barbara McCauley. Ginger, cinnamon, and honey. Yes, Lord. Yes, yes, yes. Yvonne says, I want to do life better. You know, that's my tag, Yvonne. Do life better. That's my brand. That's what I'll be talking about on Monday night. Oh, it's October 30th. Oh no, that's terrible. I better fix that. Okay, it's October 30th. It's this Monday. Okay, I'll fix that. Okay. So let's first establish what is balance. Okay. And some of this stuff, as we get into these workshops, I've been lifting things from Bruce McArthur's book verbatim, because why reinvent the wheel? I tend to write like my take on his stuff, but these last 3 chapters have been so spot on. It's like, why why reinvent the wheel? This part of the log is, I mean, literally, I just have to remember to put it in quotation marks so you don't think that it's mine. Balance is a state of equilibrium, of health on the physical level, fulfillment on the mental level, and joyousness on the spiritual level. So it's this state of equilibrium between body, mind, and spirit. Now, I want you to get that in a balanced consciousness, there are no losers. When we think of life from the human standard, life is a zero-sum game. There's some winners and there's some losers. And sometimes you're a winner and sometimes you're a loser. And in the human standard, hopefully you can balance it out where you're the loser less than you are. The loser less time than you are the winner. But I want you to get that God designed everything and everyone with a no compete clause. The Daily Inspiration came out, and I wrote the December edition of the Daily Inspiration. And one of the things that I came across I do a lot of research when I get ready to write and look for areas of inspiration. And one of the things that I come across was that all animals, and I don't want to say plants, but definitely all animals, including us, need roughly the same elements in our diet, in roughly the same mixture. And what that means is that we could all eat the same diet, meaning that because you need roughly the same mixture of nutrients that a lion needs, that a sea lion needs, that a squirrel needs, that a cow needs. We all need roughly the same mixture. But each of us has evolved what we would call our ecological niche. And what impressed me was that God has so designed the universe that no species competes with another for its food source. I love looking at nature because you really do get such a crystal clear picture of how God operates. God designed everything and everyone with a no compete clause. When you're in a state of balance, you are out of competition with other people. When you're in a state of balance, you are out of competition with other people. And that, just think about that, because you think about how much we compete. It starts young in school, and it's conditioned in us from such a very young age. But when you establish balance in your life, you take yourself out of competition with everything and everyone, and you have now evolved your own ecological niche. That's huge. You might have to work with that. That might have been the thing you came for here this evening. Alita says you need a little honey. I sure do. Ray says so many of us have been told to be realistic for so long. So believing that we can have it all is a mental stretch. Sometimes it takes work. It does. It absolutely does. I think it's some of the hardest work that you will do. I think that it is some of the hardest work that you will do because it is it's conditioned from such a young age. Will Smith has a quote that I always love, and he says, being realistic is the fastest route to mediocrity. So I want to talk about why balance is important, and I want to use something that we all use or are familiar with. The first thing I want you to get is that balance optimizes you, specifically your consciousness, for success. So if you imagine that you plant a seed, let's say you plant the seed of love. That love comes into expression according to your consciousness. So what kind of consciousness do you have? It's always a question you want to ask yourself. So you planting the seed of love versus somebody else planting the seed of love, how it manifests depends on the quality and the development within your consciousness. What balance does is that it tills the soil of your consciousness so that your seed has the best chance to sprout and look like its source. Every seed is perfect. Every seed is perfect. Every seed is pure because it's the idea in its incipiency. So when you plant the idea of love in your consciousness, it is absolutely perfect. When you plant the idea of love in your consciousness, it is absolutely perfect. How it gets changed is a function of how it comes through your mind into expression. How it gets changed is a function of how it comes through your mind, through your consciousness into expression. And so what balance does is that it gives you the best soil, your mind, for the seed to grow in. And I thought of this analogy, and I thought you would appreciate it because I thought you would get it, that if you think about the washing machine that's in your home, that washing machine works just to the degree that the internal load remains balanced. And you know this. If that load gets unbalanced, the machine cannot function properly. And you got to open up that washer. You got to restore balance. And then you can turn the washer back on. And so that same principle applies to us. When we are off balance internally, everything gets thrown off and we do not function properly. So for example, when we become ill, that illness, it throws everything out of whack. It disrupts our family life. It just, hello. I had phone calls that were supposed to be made today and people calling me and I'm like, I can't talk. Here's a text message. Sorry, my voice is gone. When we get thrown off balance, it's like the washing machine being the load getting unbalanced, and it's an internal thing. Has nothing to do with the outer structure. It's the inner structure that's the problem. And so tonight we're going to open up our washers and we're going to restore some balance. We're going to open up the washers and we're going to restore some balance. Because, if you don't fix the clothes, if you don't restore the clothes in the washing machine, you can't turn that thing on. You cannot turn that thing on. I'm going to change this camera and get rid of this stutter, y'all. 1 second. Why can't I use that? Oh no, are you serious? Okay, let me unhook it, see if that helps. There we go. Okay. All right, so that is not quite the fancy camera, but it's good. It'll work for tonight. All right, it'll get rid of that stutter. And let me light this up a little bit more. Okay, got it. Okay. So here's the thing. Yeah, the camera was all right. It had the background blacked out. Blocked out. All right. I can't worry about it. So the thing is that if you don't adjust the clothes, the washer won't turn back on. Like it has a sensor in there and it kind of shakes stuff around. It's like, no, you didn't get these clothes right. You got to go in there and fix it and readjust those clothes in order to turn it back on. And it's the same thing with us, that some of us have been off balance for so long we don't even know that we're not working. We have the fruit of not working, but we think it's, you pick up your excuses. And the excuses are there because you won't take the time to do the work. Now, we're going to do this for this balance work for a day. But then what I want you to do is then take it and then do it over the course of your life. So for your entire month, but I'll explain more as we go. You're gonna need some paper, and you're gonna need some highlighters. You need at least 3 colored pens, and you'll understand what I mean by that. 3, like pink, green, yellow, or blue, red, whatever your colors are. Highlighters, that's fine. And we're gonna go through this material. And all this is lifted directly from Bruce McArthur. So first I want to let you know what balance is. Balance it's founded on the fundamental nature of God, which is love. And what it says is that all interactions in the universe are equal exchanges. And so the law of balance says all exchanges balance. Now, when I read that, my first question is, well, then if all exchanges balance, why do I need to be worried about it at the outset? If God's going to fix it in the end, why do I need to be worried about it? And the reason why, well, hello, voice gone today. The reason why is that the imbalance shows up in your body, in your world, and in your affairs. So if your money is not working, there's an imbalance. If your health is not working, there's an imbalance. If your relationships are not working, there's an imbalance. And so what you've got to do is you've got to take inventory. You got to look at what's happening, right? You want to look at what is it that you're doing every day, and take inventory and see where things are off. And sometimes we may need the courage to believe that things can be fixed. Sometimes things have been off for so long that we don't believe they can be fixed. Sorry about that. I want to check comments. Phyllis says the noise it makes is so scary you believe the washer's about to break. Yes, and you know what? The noise that gets made in our lives when we're off balance, it's so scary that we think that we're about to break. Like, it's amazing. But yes, I appreciate that. Thank you. So I wanted to say this. I lost my train of thought. Okay, so I'm going to give you 7 tools that you need to work through. And these 7 tools are literally you lifting the lid and digging in and picking those wet clothes up, right? That are in the process of becoming, and figuring out and repositioning them so that you can close that lid and turn that washer back on. So tonight we're going to turn our washers on. Yes. Iyanla said that we settle to the level of our deficiency when things are off. Yes. That's it. That so many times that we have been settling for less than what we really deserve, and there's no reason to. There really is no reason to. But they have been off balance and deficient and inefficient and unsatisfying for so long that it's hard for us to believe, kind of like what Yvonne, what you said earlier, that I kind of want to feel like I can do this, right? But that what I've seen in my life has made me feel like this is a pipe dream, like this is too good to be true. So what I'm going to ask is that you talk to yourself and just agree that that it's possible in potential, even if you can't figure it out right now, even if you can't manifest it right now. At least buy into the idea that it might be so, possibly. Because if you can hold that shred of possibility, and you can keep that shred of possibility alive in your consciousness, then that opens the gateway for that idea to grow in you. So it doesn't have to be fully grown tonight, but just begin with the idea that maybe this could possibly work out for me. Okay. So the first one is a tool, and I'm hoping that you guys can see this, of self-analysis. And what I want you to do is to make a list of everything you do in a day and throughout the month, from waking to sleeping. Now for tonight, because we don't have that kind of time, I want you to just do a list of what you do every day. If you just do today, because we're at the night, if you just made a list of everything you did today, that's what you're doing. Make a list of everything you did today. And, if you can do it in a shorthand so that we can be mindful of time, make a list of everything you did today. From the point of waking up until this point. Make a list of everything that you did today. Now, when you go back and do this material again and look at the video again, what I want you to do is I want you to do it for every day throughout a month. You're making as full of an inventory list as possible of what hating your time from waking to sleep. And I'm going to give you guys a little time. What we're doing. So what happens is, I did it again. What happens is that when we do things, and you guys, when somebody has it, if you guys could put a, if we were in church, I'd say when you get it, say amen. but if you can just put something in the chat to let me know, I'll judge by whoever's the first person finished that you guys have had enough time to write down. And all you're doing is just an inventory of what happened today. But what I want to share with you is that every behavior that we do it points back to a thought that produced it. Every behavior that we do points back to a thought that produced it. So what happens is that we might have some thoughts in us that are driving us, but of which we're not aware. And so this time, this inventory of what we do will allow us to get a handle on where our time is going. Great. Alita says amen. So I'm gonna take that as everybody else is ready to go. All right. So the next thing that I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself the question. I want you to look at each item on your list. And again, these are quick answers because we're doing this in a truncated amount of time, but this is the kind of exercise that you want to take like a Saturday morning and do this kind of inventory work, or spread it out over a couple of days. Maybe take a week and do one tool a week, one tool a day. So like day one, you do self-analysis. Day two, you look at your time and balance. Day three. Okay. So then I want you to study everything on the list that you just made. And I want you to ask yourself, why am I doing this? How do I feel about it? Does it give me a lift or a pain, a headache, or a peaceful ending, or a knot in my belly? You're just looking for, go through everything that you wrote down. And what you're looking for is how does this make me feel? Where am I when I'm doing this? And the thing is that wherever you find a point of tension, like pain or unhappiness, fear or anger, what you're looking at is a place of imbalance. What you're looking at is a place of imbalance. So this is years ago. I don't belong to this group anymore, but I used to be a part of an investment club. And being in that investment club, before I would go to the meetings, I would get in such knots over like getting prepared for the meeting that it would just it was awful. It was the most awful thing in the world. And I kept going because financial investment was important to me. But every time I would go, I would leave. I would have headaches. I would pull all-nighters the night before trying to read every document I could about the stocks that I was covering. It was the most unpleasant thing in the world. But in my mind, it was worth the unpleasantness in order to get the experience of being in the investment club. And the thing is that wherever there is tension, there's imbalance. And so what I want you to do is to look at the things that you are doing and make an assessment of how they make you feel. Yvonne says this was not a typical day. No, I totally get that. I absolutely do. Phyllis says I read affirmations, made breakfast, decluttered, rearranged my office space, made dinner. Yes, got it. She said I'm creating new neural pathways. Yes, ma'am. Oh, Phyllis, I probably need to send you some of the stuff that I send to Linda on the brain. If you into the brain like I am. But where I want you to see is what you're looking for is where are the areas of imbalance. So that's where you're going to find that tension, those places where you're doing stuff, but the feeling is not, it doesn't elicit, you're not getting the fruit of the spirit. Ain't no happy, ain't no joy, ain't no peace, no love, no nothing. But you're doing it maybe out of a sense of obligation, maybe out of a sense of fear that feels like you have to, or begrudgingly you're doing it. Those are places of imbalance. All right. Tool number 2. Now, this one is where you're going to do a time budget. When we find ourselves overwhelmed, it can be challenging to push yourself to make a schedule, but you need one. Because what happens is that when you create a time budget, you ensure that no important aspect of your life gets overlooked or neglected. And there are 7 key areas that I want you to consider: work, play, development, eating, rest, social, spiritual. And what I want you to do is to take the list of items that we just did in tool number 1, and I want you to turn them into a time budget. So I want you to, you listed the things that you did today. Now I want you to put kind of approximate times on it. So woke up at, 4 a.m. Personal development at 4:30. Exercise at, until you want to put down those things in the way that you have allocated your time. Again, we're doing today as a sample, but after this, you're going to go back and look at this material again, and you're going to do it across your entire month, because what you want to do is you want to get a big snapshot of what's happening in your life. And if you look at a month will give you a very good idea of where your time is being allocated. And I say set aside like a half a morning, or a morning, Saturday morning, like 9 to noon or something like that, because what it's going to give you, you're going to need time, especially if you don't keep a calendar right now, you're going to need time to kind of think through where you've been spending your time, to kind of look at a date book and start to kind of say, okay, I was here on this day, I was there on that day, and start to look at that. Now, so what your finished product looks like, just so you know, is that you took the items that you put in tool number 1, and now you put them in chronological order, and you put timestamps on them. So if you ate, what time did you eat today? If you took a nap, what time did you take a nap today? If you made dinner, what time did you make dinner today? Like you're just adding in all those elements. Now, when you get ready to do this meaning looking at the entire month, the other thing that you're going to need to add in there are those essentials that you can't get around. You got to run some errands, grocery shopping. You got to keep your house clean. You got to, keep your mind and body alert. You got to keep some kind of hobby or something going. And so those things will get added in when you do this on a broader context. But what I want you to see, if you could just look at like how you spent today, what things would be considered work, what things would be considered play, what things would be considered personal development, what things would be considered eating, rest, social, meaning like hanging out with friends or doing something that's social. Doesn't have to be hanging out with friends, but something that's social. Could be you going to the play or to the museum or something. And then spiritual. And then the question you want to ask yourself is there anything on that list of 7 that's missing from today? Maybe your whole day was work and there was no play in your day. Maybe your whole day was work and eating and rest, and that was it. And there was no play, there was no development, there was no social, there was no spiritual. Again, these are things that you're looking at to begin to build into your daily routine. It may sound like a lot. I promise you it's not. It actually is very doable. So are you missing any of the 7 categories? That's the question you want to ask yourself. Are you missing any, looking at today? And especially if today is typical of how you do your day, are you missing any of the 7 categories? And you can probably start to see some patterns. And then what I want you to do when we go to tool number 3 is now we're going to talk about balancing the spiritual, mental, and physical. This is tool number 3. And this is where those highlighters come in. So you want 1, color allocated to spiritual, one color allocated to mental, and one color allocated to physical. And now I want you to examine those time locations. And I want you, whatever color you assign to spiritual, I want you to shade everything in your day that applies to spiritual. And then once you do that, then I want you to shade everything using the second color, everything that applies to mental development. So for example, work might be in the physical, right? Because you got to go out and do that. Play, though, might be in the mental because it's about the recreation, right? Personal development might be in the mental area because it's about developing yourself. But working out would be obviously in the physical. Eating would be physical. Rest and relaxation would be physical. Social activities might be mental and physical, depending on how you do them. And then spiritual is obviously spiritual. So, but I want you to look at how your day is balanced. And then I want you to take the highlighter that's applied to physical, and I want you to highlight everything that's physical. And so what you're doing now is that you're looking, because these colors are going to help you see how your day is weighted. And when you do this, you can see across a month, you can see how your month is weighted. Am I weighted more on the spiritual? Am I weighted more on the mental? Am I weighted more on the physical? Bruce McArthur wrote a quote, and I thought it was so powerful. I wanted to share it with you. He says that it is equally easy to become a mental giant, but a spiritual and physical pygmy, or a physical giant and a mental and spiritual pygmy. Balancing the spiritual, mental, and physical does not mean that they must have equal time, but rather they each must be given equal emphasis. That means that you don't neglect one for the other. So you may have an over imbalance on physical, or an over imbalance on mental, or an over imbalance on spiritual. Because the thing is that Jesus came apart, but he also got up and did some work. And so you got to make sure that all your time is not spent in meditation, that something is done where what you're getting, you're taking out and giving out into the world. Yvonne says, I took the day off to take a friend to the hospital for an outpatient procedure. I felt fulfilled that I could help someone. Absolutely. And I would absolutely put that under the spiritual category, and social. It's social, just to be there and to connect with someone. Phyllis says there are three elements that occupy my day: personal, career development, spiritual, and work. She says, if you were to take a ride with me, you would have a bumpy ride. Listen, the fact that I can barely talk right now is proof that I would offer you a bumpy ride as well. So, so now with the time, what's wonderful is that once you start to look at your time allocations, you can say, are there areas for improvement? Are there areas for improvement? And so maybe, Yvonne, and this is for everybody, but I'm saying this just because you talked about taking the day off to help a friend, that maybe it's not about every day having all 7 elements in the day. But when you look at the balance of the week, what does the week look like? And so maybe there is a day or a morning or a time where you give something to someone else, and you make that time available. And and then you may not do that every other day of the week, but then it's you pick it back up. On a Saturday you go and help somebody. So again, this is all about what feels right to you, but because balance is a personal thing, and so only you can say what balance is for you. Think of these as like guidelines. One thing I thought about too is that maybe some activities can become dual purpose, right? So maybe, you just can't fit a workout in your day. You've looked at it and you just can't see it. But maybe you can adjust your work environment and use a standing desk, or maybe if you work in an environment that's not uplifting, you could basically make that experience into your spiritual classroom where you meet negativity with love. It's where you basically begin to look at how you can turn things into spiritual experiences. It may be a totally physical experience, but you may approach it in such a way that it's now a spiritual experience. You have the ability to do that. And so this can help you establish that kind of balance. So for example, let's say that you look at your chart and you realize, you know what, I don't have any, not really heavily weighted in, like, the spiritual area. That was surprising. But you know what? I work out all the time, right? So maybe my workout becomes a spiritual experience, because that as I am exercising, I'm seeing myself developing my temple. And so I begin to treat my workout time as sacred time with God, because I know that as I get my physical form together, that I am of greater service to God, and able to go and be of greater service to the people that I serve. So again, it's that dual purpose. You have the ability to repurpose any experience. Constance says, I need more work in the physical. I lack enthusiasm to exercise. Yeah. No, I get it. I understand. I exercise and listen to spiritual things. Yes. Again, that's that dual purpose. The times things can be multi-purpose. That's what I should have said. Multi-purpose, right? So that again, you begin to add that balance. All this is about opening the washer, moving those clothes around, so that we can so that we can turn the washing machine back on. Couldn't get my word out. All right. Tool number 4, time and balance. So now what I want you to do, and you may not have these immediately handy, but I want you to pull up your life's purpose statement. Weeks ago, you guys posted some amazing life purpose statements in the comments. I mean, they were just powerful. Now is the time to pull them back up. And you want the ideals chart that we did from last week. And then what you want to do now, what you've done is you made an inventory for this exercise, you made an inventory of your day. You put it in chronological order in terms of how it flowed throughout the day. You labeled it as to whether or not it was spiritual, mental, or physical. And then, oh, you know what? That's a typo. It should say tool number 4, keep your activities in accord with your purpose and mission. That was a typo. Tool number 4 is what that should say, not tool number 2. So you now have shaded everything and put it into kind of 3 broad categories: spiritual, physical, and mental. Now what you want to do is go through every activity in your time budget. And there are 3 questions that you want to ask. Is this activity in accord with or contributing to achievement of my purpose? So pull up one of the things that you guys said. I think it was Linda Muhammad. I had a powerful statement. Actually, I'm going to the wrong thing. I know where to go. Had a powerful statement of so where's Linda's comment? She says, it is my purpose to empower myself and others to live purposefully, passionately, and powerfully, living life abundantly as my way shower Jesus the Christ said we could. Powerful. Now, Linda, take that time budget, the way you shaded it, go through every activity. Is this in accord with empowering myself and others to live purposefully, passionately, and powerfully? Is this in accord with, is it contributing to me empowering myself and others to live purposefully, passionately, and powerfully, right? This is what you're asking of yourself. I had another one that I wanted to read that I thought was so powerful. Oh, I can't find it immediately. My apologies, guys. I thought I had it immediately handy. So yeah, and then you want to ask yourself in terms of like your ideals, right? So you want to say, okay, well, now what are my ideals that, and in this activity, are my thoughts and attitudes and words and acts in accord with my spiritual, mental, and physical ideals? When I said this is the best version of how I see myself, did I operate today from that ideal? Or did I drop back into my habits? Did I operate today from that ideal, or did I drop back into my old habits? And then, is this activity in accordance with my spiritual guidance? Is this what God told me to do? Is this what God told me to do? Leanne said on she got touched by an angel, and what she would do. Hold on, I'm looking for her comment. Leanne says the ideals that drive my everyday behavior are my dreams, my goals, my vision that I see for my career, finances, and love life. These ideals motivate me to make decisions that will make the dream a reality in my life. And by the way, thank you. So currently reading the money poems. Yay. Leanne. But it, like, when you look at that time budget, am I operating according to my ideals, or am I operating below the standard of what I've set for myself? And then, did God tell me to do it? And so what you're doing is you're examining your time budget and saying, am I doing things that are in agreement with my purpose and my mission? Tool number 5, flexibility. Stuff comes up. So he actually gives a little formula that he borrowed from a friend. And the thing is that no day goes according to plan. So you've got to allow for unexpected interruptions. Reverend Della would always say, that it's an adventure with God. So you start with a daily plan. Just because things come up don't mean that you don't make a daily plan. You start with a daily plan and you go with the flow when things get off track. When you and what he says is that you allow your awareness to rest lightly on whatever glitch has come up and see what comes to you. And then if something does, take it up at once and go where it leads. Never argue with yourself about it. And then when you come to a stopping point, pick up your original plan and go on until you run into another obstacle. And then as another obstacle comes up, go with the flow again. And the main thing is just to stay easy, right? So yes, you start with a plan, but you allow the day to be fluid. You allow the day to be fluid. And what will help you, because perhaps there are some things in your day where you really need to kind of tighten the belt. Maybe you're, allowing some excuses as far as your productivity, right? So go with the flow is getting caught up on social media and losing a bunch of time on social media. Great. Go with the flow. But then when you do this kind of assessment, you begin to ask yourself the question, is this in agreement with my purpose? Is this in alignment with my ideals for myself? It's like you don't fight yourself in the moment. You address yourself in the self-analysis. Fighting yourself in the moment it's a losing battle, because there's nothing for you to do except make yourself wrong, which then drives your heels into the ground even further. But what you can do is in the self-assessment say, I see that this is not in agreement with where God and I want to go. And so I can make a plan then. So I can say, you know what? I like social media. Instead of getting on social media during the day, I'm going to get on social media at night. So my daytime will be social media free, but I'm going to get on at night because I'm going to allow myself that indulgence, but I'm not going to allow it to be part of my work day. So now you put it into a way that you can actually work with it and do something with it. Tool number 6, moderation, avoid excess. Now, by human standards, success pertains to the car you drive, the house you live in, and the watch you wear on your wrist. Once you get the car, within a year, it's just a car. Once you purchase the big house, after a year or two, it's just a house. And the watch, within 6 months, it's just another watch. Novelty wears off. There's a book on dying, and I understand I haven't read it, but I was quoted that the number one regret of the dying is that they never learned to live. And so I'm encouraging you to include in your definition of success a well-rounded balance with moderation in all you do and in all your relationships. McArthur suggests that the well-rounded aspect of balance includes having the ability to play as well as work, to relax as well as to drive yourself, and to be appreciative of the finer aspects of life as well as of material success. So not too much in any particular area. And the question you always have to ask yourself is, how am I living? Now, when you look at this time budget, when you look at how time has been allocated and where you put things, how are you living? Are you living? Are you living? Because again, the number one regret of the dying is that they have never learned to live. And so we make these bucket lists, and actually what we need are live lists. MacArthur says to achieve success in anything at the expense of your body, your mind, your home, your marriage, or your relation to spirit will prevent you from achieving true contentment and inherent spiritual need and desire of every person. So moderation, 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 moderation. Just avoid excess on it. Too much of a good thing. There is such a thing as too much of a good thing. And finally, tool number 7 is stability. So now, stability is about minding your own spiritual business. He said this, I'm going to use it verbatim because I think it's just powerful, just as is. He says, do not allow discouraging and disorderly events in others' lives to disturb your equilibrium. Their problems are not yours unless you choose to make them so. Balance creates stability. If you react to a friend's difficulties by being angry or sad, you are allowing outside forces to affect your stability. That's not helpful to you or to your friend. And then keep your peace. When someone criticizes you, instead of feeling angry, you can try to keep your sense of balance. Remember, if people are angry with you, that's their problem, not yours. Don't make it yours by becoming emotionally involved. Look at it from a balanced and stable state. You then can more readily find the true message the universe is sending you. Nothing happens by chance, so there is something there for you, generally different than the angry words indicate. And so my encouragement to you is that to know that achieving inner balance optimizes your consciousness, which is the gateway through which your entire experience flows. It comes through your consciousness. Balance optimizes the consciousness. It gives the seed the best chance to produce a fruit that looks like the source of absolute good from which it came. What I want to encourage you to do is to go back through this video and do the exercises for your entire month. That this is one of those beautiful self-analysis exercises. Take your time with it. Maybe do one tool a day so that it's not so overwhelming. And then really look and say, what changes will you make? What things will you get rid of? Or what things will you add? That's what we're looking at. What needs to go? What needs to stay? And what needs to come in? And finally, if this workshop helped you, please subscribe and please share this with a friend. I'm sure there is somebody other than you and me who is looking for balance in their lives. Any questions? Yvonne says, the tools from this week and last are great for coaching clients. I love this book. Yes, I agree. I agree. Phyllis says, I got excited about this chapter as the light went off that I could use it when coaching my caregivers to have balance. Yes, 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 yes. It is the spiritual entrepreneur's guide to having it all. Yes, yes, yes. Any questions? Yes, 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 yes. Wonderful. Thank you guys for tonight. So we will be on chapter 18, which is the law of belief. The law of belief, chapter 18 next week. This book has been amazing. If you guys want to start thinking about where you want to go next, let me see where we are. We've got 4 4 more chapters. So probably maybe next week, we'll start to build a poll. But if there are things that you guys want next, um, let me know and I'll put them in there. Couple of dates to keep in mind: the week of Thanksgiving we will not have class, and the last 2 weeks of December we will not have class. So obviously Thanksgiving Thursday, but the last 2 Thursdays of the month. So what's the best way to find the calendar? Okay, month. All right, December. Okay, so no, that's November. So December. So we will not have class on December 21st and December 28th. So basically, our last class in December will be December 14th, and then we'll resume again on the first Thursday after the beginning of the year. So 2 week break at the end of the year, yay! And so probably what we're looking at, we need something as a good short maybe we'll do a prosperity thing. Constance, you sent me that thing from Edwin Gaines, the 4 laws of prosperity. Maybe we'll do that because it looks like we've got about 4 Thursdays or something like that. So we'll do it. We'll kind of wrap the year with a prosperity focus. Okay, good. Yeah, and I mean we'll use Edwin Gaines' book unless you guys have another book that you want to use. Wonderful. Thank you guys so much for tonight. Any other questions before we close out? Oh, Phyllis says, I want to understand being a Christ. Yes, that's a good one. We'll put that one. That's a longer one, but we can put that on for 2018 for sure. Definitely can put that on for 2018. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for hanging in there. My voice will be back next week. All right. Take care.